Here is a quick walkthrough of how SKAARHOJ controllers should be processed in Photoshop. They usually start out by a number of photos like these, and one thing that I noticed, which is a note to Björn, is that there's a little bit too much compression on these, so usually it would be better not having JPEGs delivered. But anyway, we have usually a number of different exposures. This would be the darkest, the less darker, and then a lighter one. And the lighter one without anything in the display is the basis of everything. So what I did here was to create a layer which has this one. If we see the mask, you see I've made a layer mask around this one. I just did this using the magic wand. Sometimes it's nice to, I just use the magic wand and then like 32 in this case standard settings. I may want to suggest that you can use this technique that you blur the mask like that, and then afterwards you can strengthen it a little bit or shape it up like using contrast like that to make it more smooth, which is nice. In this case it's not strictly necessary, but I'm going to use that technique in a number of cases. Then I put just a white layer underneath, which will generate a drop shadow afterwards. Yes, well, what else can we do? We prefer to have this with the blank displays and so forth, because it gives the best color of the metal. And if we want to change the blue metal, then we can do it on this one. Now, the next layer here is actually one of the darker versions of the same, and one of the things we want to do is to separate the buttons and the display so that we can adjust the light, and that's the intention of this layer. So you can see I created a mask here, and that mask is also not perfect. We could touch that up a little bit, but I did that by multiple clicking around on the on the blue on this, also using higher tolerance and so forth, and then eventually creating a layer mask only for the buttons and knobs and so forth. The next one I have up here is for the displays, but we'll get back to that. So if I enable this guy, you see that I made an adjustment layer level 1, and I assigned it by holding down Option key between these two. You can make sure that it only affects this one, which is on purpose because I want this layer to only affect my button overlay here. In fact, I made it a little bit darker. You can see I turned down the gamma a little bit to highlight the button colors and so forth, and that's basically what we want to do here. You may even want to do a little bit individual shading, so to speak. But one of the things we should notice right now is how sharp is this edge from our sorry about this. How sharp is that edge? And I like to go here then and suggest, like I showed you before, that we use some blurring here so that we actually blur the selection a little bit. And then you can always go and then make it more sharp again. You see changes happening, for instance, right here. So as I'm increasing the contrast, it's like I'm expanding the mask or not, and I can use this to adjust the mask exactly to my liking here. So actually I'm not super happy about the knobs themselves. The colors behind are somehow fine, but I'm not happy about the knobs. We'll get back to that. Am I happy about this one over here? I don't know. And this is probably where, yeah, we can either do individual or not individual adjustments. Well, in this case, let's make an adjustment layer though. So I do that. Notice that this will, well, okay, that will affect only the buttons overlay. So I'm going back here and then maybe making the buttons a little lighter like that. So because these are not, I don't think they are, well, are they highlighted in this example? Let me see, we can see it here. Okay, they have some, but they need to look like they are active, and they didn't just before. Now, so the black knobs, not pleasant. We need to mark these, kind of easy in this case. Okay, we're about there. Could also be possible to give it a little bit of smoothing here. These values you need to figure out what exactly should they be. Maybe a little bit further, 2-3 pixels, depends on the resolution, of course. Now I'll go back onto this layer, and if we look at the mask here, I'm gonna put some black content into this, and then I'm just gonna hide the mask to see if I'm happy with how this now looks. You see what happened to my mask is this. So I just want to make sure that the knobs stay beautiful as they were before, which I think they do right now. I may even use this mask I still have right here to create an adjustment layer in this stack, which could be helpful to basically, now I increase the color of these, but I want to do the opposite, which is to make my knobs here colorless. I don't see a lot of difference though. No, of course, because I excluded them. Sorry, I need to take this one out of the layer hierarchy like that, and now this layer will adjust the color of this. So maybe to get rid of the tint on these knobs, I want to dial it down. Sometimes I don't do it all the way because it gets too unnatural. Okay, so I think I'm pretty okay with the button colors right now. So what I want to move on to is the displays, and on the displays here, it looks like this. The main material, again, I have a I have this, sorry, it's on opacity there. It's very bluish, and I have my mask for this one. Then I desaturate it. Usually I desaturate it all the way to actual black and white, and then I put in a level here that it increases the contrast to a level I like. And usually what I do prefer is not to see the compression from the JPEG, which is basically what we see right now easily. So with higher resolution or non-compressed images, this is usually going to be better. But the whole point is that this layer goes on top of this one and puts in the display content here very nicely in the displays. Yeah, so that's good. It's actually quite natural. It's almost like this is how it would look really with this, but usually I do set opacity a little bit down, maybe to 90%, to just so that the displays here are not too heavy in a sense. I think it looks pretty good now. Okay, so that's neat. I would save this, and I would also expand the canvas a little bit from this side. Maybe make it 6.5. Height would be 2000. Just fill it all with white. Load this layer mask up. This mask here. I will make a drop shadow. I'll do it on this layer. I'll put in black, so you can see I now have a black. I have black on layer 4. I will blur it a lot to make a drop shadow, maybe like this, and then I'll use transformation tool to make this shadow a little smaller. I'll make it trapezoid form. So for instance, see, can I move this corner, just this corner, right there, like this? And then I will set an opacity which is much less, and then I will nudge it up with the arrow keys. So, oh, not good. What was that? Opacity. I was changing opacity. I want to go down here, and then, okay, I'll use here. Okay, nudge the shadow up in place about like this. Okay, so I don't want any shadow up here. I just want it to be a contact shadow in this region. Now, if I do this and I use the is it trim, the trim function, then it will usually go by top left pixel color, and it will trim it so that the shadow is respected now around the whole thing, which is great. And then what I want to do is to set the correct width finally of this one. So it seems like 48 centimeters, which is not too far off actually. See, how do we do that? Well, we know this distance here on this particular controller is 483 millimeters. So 483 millimeters. Let me just see how many pixels. That's what we want to know. We want to know info. We have okay, let's just try again. This, so 55 divided by, so we have this many pixels divided by this many millimeters. So this is the amount of pixels per millimeter times 25.5, which gives us the resolution in inches. So 290 or 91 should be the resolution. We will, in this case, not resample the image like that, and this gives us a perfect size of the image. Would you mind to be quiet, please? Sig stille. So, the only thing, to some extent actually, I think it's a little bit too shiny, the blue color. I think there's a little bit too much contrast in it. So maybe one final thing I want to do here is to throw in an adjustment layer just to make sure. Yeah, okay, this is great. So this adjustment layer will help me to just light it up a little bit. And I think this is about how our controllers usually look. So this is great. That's it. Ready to go.